Hello and welcome to Retro Reviews, my channel where I review my favorite retro video games of all time as well as some modern releases I have recently finished. The retro game I want to look at today is Super Mario Bros. 2 in Japan or Lost Levels here in the US. This game is one of the hardest video games I have ever sought out to complete. Now, I say complete because I beat this game two different ways, with warps and then again by beating every single level. It is slightly easier to do it with warps, but there are some significant challenges that come with that as well. I'll talk about my experience doing both of those. So first and foremost, with warps, this game is easier in some ways, but it also presents a difficult challenge as well. To beat this game, you typically need to have either pinpoint precision going into the final few levels, last world especially, and making sure you're not taking hits, or you have to be able to stay, if you're not as good at the game, if you don't understand the layout and how the enemies work and their AI and everything, you have to get there with like a fire flower power-up, so you have an extra tank, an extra hit to tank, so then you can make it to the final boss without dying. That is me, for sure. I don't understand this game, the intricacies of this game. I don't speedrun it, of course. This is one of those games that I avoided for a very long time because it was so difficult. I remember playing it as a kid on the Mario All-Stars collection, trying to do the Lost Levels and only getting past a few levels because it was just so difficult. There are also some really cool inclusions to this game, like the poison mushroom that is one of the earlier power-ups that you find that will kill you instantly if you get it. Really funny to add stuff like that. I love that that's the unique power-up they did. A really difficult sequel to the original game adds a troll power-up that kills you. It's awesome. Some of the other like mechanics that they include in this game are the springs that launch you super high in the air, or wind that either pushes you forward or pushes you back. Both incredibly infuriating. The springs themselves require like pinpoint precision to hit the button at the right time to go up high. If you mess it up and you're trying to hold forward because you need to get as much distance as possible, you'll bounce right off into the abyss. If you hit it and then you're not sure about where you are because you're off screen, you're going really high and falling really slowly, you have to really figure out the best way to land on things without like having the screen scrolling mess you up. It's really difficult. Some of these mechanics are exceptionally hard. Other things that they include in this game that make it super difficult are like enemy placements and the way the enemies behave. Some of the, especially the boss fights and the boss dungeons themselves, the castles that you encounter, are just so maddening to get through. Some of them have special things that you have to do, like doing a specific pattern in the dungeon, in the castle, in order to get through it. Otherwise you get trapped in an infinite loop. Some have like a maze that you have to get the right sequence. You have to just play like a guessing game until you figure it out, or look up online, which is what I did because I wasn't about to spend a ton of time on a castle that was already really difficult and risk losing a power-up. There's just a ton of like troll mechanics. This is like the first instance of Mario being a troll game, really. This is what it feels like. It feels like a troll creator on Mario Maker 1 or 2 just made an entire game as hard as they possibly could. This game really just is so difficult. I understand why in Japan they thought this would be too hard for Western audiences. They were correct. It was probably too hard for them too. I love watching this game from like a speedrunner perspective. I like watching them play it and seeing that it is still difficult for them, but because they understand that how enemy patterns work and how certain projectiles work, they can abuse invincibility frames and abuse like their hitbox and everything. It's really cool to watch them beat this game in not a whole lot of time. But it is maddening to play if you've never played this one. So I sought out to beat it. I beat it with warps first, which, like I said previously, one of the problems with that is that you have to make sure you have chances to get your power-up progression, so you have extra hit, so you don't get killed at the very end of the game. And the other thing is that you just have less options to get power-ups later on in the game. There are less spots to do it. At least for me, I didn't look up all the secret hidden places where you can get power-ups and everything. So I just made a game plan. I was like, I know there's a power-up here. I need to make sure I get it, and then I need to make it to the end of this level and get the warp, and then get all the way to World 8, and then I need to just survive as much as possible because there's so few instances where you can actually get power-ups in World 8. It's so difficult. So that was my game plan going in. It took me quite a while to beat it with warps, and it took me probably about 4 times longer to beat it without. And the problem is some of the worlds are so maddening. World 3 specifically has some water levels that are just out of this world infuriating. I don't think there's ever been a water level as more infuriating as the stuff in World 3 of Mario Bros. 2. I seriously probably spent like 3-4 hours going just through World 3 over and over and over again, just trying to beat it. I finally got like good patterns and figured out what you could do, but some of it comes down to RNG. Some of the enemies in the water like spawn at different spots, or they start doing different patterns. They're not consistent, and that is so maddening. After I got past World 3, it became substantially easier, despite the levels getting harder technically. It's just so maddening doing water levels back in the Nintendo Entertainment System. But I finally got past that. Fortunately, I played this on the Game & Watch, the Mario Game Watch, which I highly recommend. It's not super expensive. I don't think anymore. I think you can get a secondhand device or even a new version for like $40, which is pretty good. It comes with Mario Bros. 1 and the Lost Levels, and another game that I'm trying to remember what it is. It might be Mario Land. Can't remember specifically, but it's a great value. I really like the screen size and the resolution it provides for you. I played it on this, and so it gives you some like save points. So if you die in World 3, you can go back and start over. So I just grinded World 3 over and over and over again. When I finally got to the final world, I had such a hard time beating it. It took, again, hours just to get through this thing. Even knowing, like looking up walkthroughs, knowing the specific patterns I had to take, it was so incredibly difficult. Specifically, keeping your power up until the final boss. I want to tell the story of actually how I beat this game finally, because it was insane what I was able to do. So I made it to the World 8 boss and the castle itself, I mean. And the castle is really hard. It's precision platforming. You have to memorize specific patterns. There's a water section at one point. There's a bunch of stuff that will keep you from making it to the end with a power-up. They want you to have to be as precise as possible. Well, I made it toward the end of the game with a power-up in hand. So I was Super Mario, and the problem with that is that you're twice as big as Small Mario. Small Mario is so much easier to maneuver, and I knew that there was a troll at the end of this castle, where there was a Bowser before the final Bowser, so you have to avoid two of them. The Bowser in the first instance that you encounter him, he is in a narrow corridor. There's very little room for error. He throws axes at you, or hammers, I mean, and you have to essentially dodge him or tank a hit. And I knew that this was probably going to be the end of my run, that I wasn't going to make it, because I was going to have to tank a hit through him, and then I was going to have to get lucky through the final Bowser fight. Well, it comes down to me getting to this spot. I saw it. I knew it was going to happen. I just charged right in. I didn't think. I didn't pause. I didn't try and wait for an opening. I ran straight in. He started throwing hammers. I duck jumped in like this perfect place, pixel perfect spot to dodge some hammers that had already fallen and some other ones coming from above. And then he jumped right as I was landing, so I crouch slid underneath him, dodged him completely. Again, pixel perfect. Made it all the way to the final Bowser, took the hit, tanked it, got the axe, and beat the game. It was so cool. I wish I had footage of it because it was so spectacular. One of the coolest things I've done in a Mario game. Again, I haven't grinded this game all that much. I hadn't gotten to that point in the castle ever before. I think with some more practice and recognizing the patterns, maybe doing some online research, I could actually figure out how to do it. But the execution is really scary on the old consoles, especially on the NES. It's really difficult to get those duck jumps and everything, and I felt so incredible in getting to the very end. I knew I had it in the bag because I could just jump right through the Bowser. Sure enough, I tried to avoid him, but I got hit the axe, I beat the game. It felt absolutely incredible, and I never really want to touch that game ever again. It was so freaking hard. The platforming is really good. This is based off of Mario 1. I mean, there's so many new mechanics too. They did a great job. It's just so precise and so difficult that any mistake will probably cost you a run. And that is the hardest part of this game. And why I can't really give it a high ranking, despite how well made it is. It's one of those games that you absolutely never would want to go back and play again. The fact that I beat this twice at all is just a testament to my own insanity, I think. I really put myself in the ringer to beat this one. But I finally beat it. I will probably go back and play it again at some point, just not anytime soon. I'm going to give Mario Bros. 2 or The Lost Levels a silver rank because of how difficult and precise it is. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.